The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's August the 8th, 2025. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And, Matt, I got to start out with this for a multitude of reasons. I was looking at, let me find it here. I was looking at my emails this morning, and I get an email that came in overnight that said, social media shortens your life. Here's how to get time back. And I was thinking, man, is this appropriate? Because social media over the last 24 to 48 hours, without question, shortened our life here at CaneSport. And just to explain, so on our last show, which I think was Tuesday or Wednesday, Wednesday show, it would have been Wednesday show, I'm pretty sure. Matt was commenting on the play of the defensive backs in practice. Might have been Tuesday show. But anyway, so he was commenting on the play of the defensive backs in practice. And in typical Matt Shodell fashion, with his flair for the dramatic, with his flair for the show business aspects of this morning entertainment that we provide everybody, he said, I've never seen anything like this in 30 years. Okay. Now, obviously, Matt has seen something like this in 30 years. I mean, we watch a lot of workouts, a lot of drills, a lot of practices. This was probably not the first time in the history of our coverage of the Miami Hurricanes that we ever saw defensive backs dominate receivers on the practice field. And they absolutely did that day. I mean, the defensive backs were spectacular, and we were sitting there watching, really very excitedly because, obviously that's a spot on the football team that everyone's interested in and watching. And the defensive backfield needs to be a lot better than it was a year ago. And it unquestionably is. Okay. Now, the problem was that a snippet of that whole show was taken by somebody on Twitter, presumably a Gator fan or something like that, and was used to make fun of Miami's receivers. Okay. Which is total, complete absurdity. Okay. Miami has a receiver room full of extremely good prospects, from JoJo Trader to Daniels to Josh Moore. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on and on about Miami's receivers, Malachi Toney. Okay, there's a whole lineup of them that have potentially extremely bright futures in college football. They just haven't done it on a Saturday afternoon yet. So nobody really knows about it. Nobody is, pumping them up or whatever. So this guy used this little snippet from the show to take a shot, I presume, at Miami's receivers, and the thing goes viral, okay? And created an absolute crap show. No argument on the internet that we were not happy with, and a lot of other people were not happy with. So I wanted to start out today, Matt, by giving you an opportunity to clarify and explain to everybody that watches the show exactly what you were seeing and what you were intending your message to be, without saying it's the most outrageous thing you've seen in 30 years. That didn't go over.
I didn't really listen to what you said. No, I mean, what I was told was somebody clipped some Gator person or something, clipped a bit out of it, not including the whole message of it, and it went viral. And the last time it went viral, it was rabies, and people got rabid over this. Luckily for me, Miami players and coaches don't look at social media, or I'd probably be in big trouble. But I'm not. So all I'm going to say about it is what was in perspective at the time that I said, which is the DBs looked great and have looked elite, which could mean the receivers look bad, or it could mean the receivers are fine, right? because they're playing against each other. It's literally what I said. If you take a little clip out of what I said, for those that watched the whole last show, they'll understand what I meant. For those who only saw the clip on social media, they'll think I was saying the receivers suck, which is not at all what I said.
Yeah. So, and if it came across that way, that's certainly not what he was intending to say. I mean, the DBs have been really, really good in the workouts that we've seen here in training camp, and it's a lot to be excited about. And so, I really wanted us to, clear that up, and it came to my mind when I saw this email about social media taking years off of all of our lives, and it really is crazy what people can do. I mean, the power of social media is real, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, people can take things, little snippets of things, take things out of context, and turn them into social media posts that get distributed everywhere. We're seeing AI, extensive use of AI in the creation of phony social media on a daily basis. So the social media world is getting to be a more perilous place. And I think all of us included for sure, just have to be careful about giving people fodder to go crazy on social media, because it would happen. But apologies to anybody that got the wrong impression there, for sure. And Miami's got a very bright future, we believe, at the defensive back position, and we believe they have a very bright future at the receiver position. The variable there being how quick can all these young prospects that are clearly very good, very talented, how quickly can they develop? And that's a big issue here, especially when you have an opening game against Notre Dame. All right, Matt, as we move forward here on the show, there was something else that I had to ask your opinion about, just because you are Matt Shodell, and you have your legion of followers, and you're inflammatory, let's put it that way. And that is this crazy thing going on with people throwing sex toys at WNBA games. Like, I don't know how much you've been following that. Apparently it's tied.
Yeah, the Indiana player got hit by one. Yeah.
You got hit by one.
An Indiana player did. Yeah.
Oh, and then I thought you said you got hit by one. I could see that happening too.
I did not get.
I could see somebody throwing sex toys at you. I really could. But I just want to get your thoughts, before we move on to the news of the day, because this is kind of the news of the day. It's the biggest story in sports right now, that sex toys are being thrown onto courts at WNBA games, and it's supposedly tied to some kind of cryptocurrency or something, that somebody came up with this insane idea of throwing sex toys at WNBA players. Your thoughts?
I mean, no, I'm against sex toy waste. So yeah, I prefer they not get thrown out, thrown away, thrown anywhere. Just keep them for yourselves. That's my position.
All right. Now that we've cleared that up too, let's move on to the news of the day. And the news of the day is that the pads are on Green Tree, and it's almost like a rite of passage. They practice in shorts for the first week, and make no mistake, like, they get after it. Okay, like, OLDL, it's not like, oh, geez, we don't have pants on, we're not practicing hard, okay? Like, they don't care, okay? So, yeah, we got pads on. It's a big deal. It's time to get ready for the season. Fine and dandy. We're going to be scrimmaging over the weekend. No question about that. But they have been going at each other pretty good, just from the waist up for the most part. And they try to stay away from people's legs anyway out there, even with full pads on. They're trying to limit injuries. Like Mario Cristobal talked about it yesterday. They got to get the team ready. This is not they're not playing patty cakes out there, okay? But there are precautions that they can take along the way to try to keep guys from getting hurt, and they try to stay up, okay? They don't want a lot of going, low tackling, low hits, going down to the ground. That's how people get hurt. But Matt, we got to watch a lot of OLDL at practice yesterday, and I don't know that I would say it's more physical than what we've seen, but at least it was the real thing for sure, no matter what standards anybody might have. Your thoughts on the OLDL portion of practice that we were able to watch?
I mean, yeah, you can see some things. What you like to see is resiliency, right? So Samson Okamola has 2 terrible reps, and then he comes back and has a good rep, right? Justin Scott looked really good. Different guys flash at different times. It's not, it's funny. Like, God forbid anyone ever says anything negative on these podcasts, which was what you were talking about earlier. I look at some other places and it's like, they just say how everything's great. Like the team's great, everyone's doing great, nobody's doing badly, right? But the truth is, it's okay to say if someone screws up or does badly, and then you want to see how they respond, right? Like that's what football is. If you're a fan and all you want to hear is good things, then this is not the show for you. And you could probably clip different parts of anybody saying anything and make it sound like the person's a lunatic or hates the Hurricanes or whatever the hell it is. But the truth is, there are going to be guys, right? Like if you want to clip Samson Okunlola had 2 bad raps and you want to clip just that and put it on social media, Samson Okunlola is going to be mad at me. But he came back and he had a great rap, and he's a guy who probably could start for most, if not all, ACC teams right now because he is a guard tackle. He could play either or, okay? And right now what Miami's doing, which I love, is they're building depth, right? On the offensive line, they've got probably 3 guys right now who could start. All 3 of them could start for probably the bottom half of the ACC teams, right? Ryan Rodriguez, Tommy Kinsler, and Ryan Rodriguez, Tommy Kinsler, and Samson Okunlola. Those 3 guys are at Miami, but they could start at a lot of programs. And the depth that Mario built on the offensive line, and here comes the scary negative part, right? That needs to be everywhere else, okay, on this team. And it's not. It's not. And that's why I said, this is a year, this is still a building year. It's a playoff year. I predict 10 wins. But I see next year getting that championship level depth because you can't just have a championship level starting lineup and a bunch of lousy backups. You have to have guys pushing each other at every single level. And yeah, you're not going to hear this on other podcasts. And God forbid, somebody sees this and says it's negative. But like, there are only a few positions on this team that have championship level depth, okay? Where you have more than one guy that are elite, and that's offensive line, running back, and cornerback. And I would argue with anybody else, and defensive end, sorry. And I would argue with anybody else that says, oh, everybody's great everywhere. In these podcasts you watch everywhere else, that make people upset at us for saying stuff's not always amazing. Like, that's how I see it. I'm here to share my opinion, okay? And what I see, not just make up pie in the sky stuff to make people happy. I'm not happy ever in my life. So why should you people be happy out there? Okay. But yeah, the O-line, D-line drill, what I really like, and I don't know if I said it enough, the attitude, the effort, and the enthusiasm in practice, right? But and it's from where we came from, right? Is it championship level? I'm not quite sure I'm there yet because I remember watching those guys back in the old days, man, and they, like every practice, there was chirping, there was in your face, there was like they hated each other on offense and they hate each other on defense. Right now it's like, oh, kumbaya, let's everyone get along. No, offense should still hate defense should still hate offense in practices, and Mario knows that. And I want to see a little more of that. But from where we came from 4 years ago, where we'd be on practice and it would be silent and like guys would just be going through the motions, like that's disappeared. That's part of the Mario Cristobal culture that he's built at Miami that you need, right? And people can clip from 30 seconds ago what I said and put it on social media, and people are going to come for Matt Shodell again. But I see it as a positive message. Like, again, going back to what I said the other day that got clipped on social media, I saw it as a positive that the cornerbacks are so great and the safeties are so great. The caveat to that is, does it mean the receivers are bad, average, or good? We don't know because the DBs look to me amazing, okay? And they're playing against each other. So when they're playing against each other,
the thing that freaked everybody out was that you said I haven't seen it like this in 30 years.
Who cares if I said 30 years or 100 years? What's the difference? It's still
but
the message.
It does seem like 30 years.
the message. Well, it's been a bad 30 years, right? The message, or 22 or whatever. The message clearly was, for those that watched the show, and I'm sure people will post about it, the message clearly was the DBs are elite, the best I've seen in a long time at Miami, is the point, right? And we don't know what that means about the receivers who are totally unproven. They have 3 transfers who all had under 500 yards last year and in their entire careers at major programs. So, like, I can't sit here and legitimately say it's the best receiving core I've ever seen. Josh, and I said on that show, by the way, I said Josh Moore and Dalen Upshaw look like 2 amazing players to me. They've been outstanding. I don't see how that's a negative either. But like, other guys got to step up. I got to see more consistency from everybody at the receiver position. The DB position is elite. And it doesn't mean the receivers are bad. It doesn't.
It seems
just
like
means
really they haven't done it on game day either.
yeah, they got to prove it. They got to
I
prove
was
it.
having this conversation with somebody the other day that's in the program, and it's like, you know, you recruit all these guys, 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever, and obviously you think they're all going to be great. But until they show greatness on game day and there's actual production there, the outside world is not going to consider them great. Like everybody recruits 4 stars. Everybody recruits, not everybody recruits 5 stars, but a lot of the top teams do. And there's a lot of good prospects out there in college football. They're not going to get the respect until they do it on Saturday afternoons. And that's just the way it is, good, bad, or indifferent. And like there's a lot of young players on this team right now that have the potential to be really, really good. August 31st, the lights go on. It's their first opportunity to show it in a very big stage. I mean, stage isn't getting bigger than it's going to be on August 31st. So, a lot of these young guys and people have been commenting on the message boards and stuff, how they want to see some of these young players beat out these transfers, these older transfers. They want to see the young players beat them out. But they got to do it. You can want to see it, but they got to actually do it. And that goes across the board for pretty much everybody on the team. There's a lot of unproven, but they are going to get some big opportunities here in the first month of the season to prove themselves. Now, Matt, one thing that I saw in that drill that I was talking about that made me really excited, and I'm watching it, and there was a defensive tackle that gave the most amazing effort on this given play, and I didn't see the number at first. I'm like, wow, because I'm watching, like, I'm looking for, the defensive tackle position to step up big time. I mean, it's needed. I mean, right now it's, I would say it's probably the most questionable position on this football team. And I didn't see the number at first, but I saw the effort and I was blown away by it. And then he gets up and I saw that it was Justin Scott. And I was like, yes. Okay. Because, that is what they need from Justin Scott. They need maniacal effort. He's not going to be polished. He's not going to be a 3rd or 4th year defensive tackle at this point. He's playing, big time football where he's being counted on for the first time in his college football career. But if he plays with that kind of effort when the games begin, it's going to spell good things, I believe, for the defense. And I just wanted to give Justin Scott a shout out because I was very impressed with the effort that he showed on this given play in practice. But Matt, so other things that jumped out, I mean, there weren't a ton of developments really. Carson Beck is still, you could tell he's still feeling his way. He makes some unbelievable throws, like really, really phenomenal stuff that you would expect from Carson Beck. But every now and then he has 1 or 2 that you say, wow, he's just not totally there yet. But he's got 3 weeks. Okay, this is a marathon, not a sprint. But that was something that jumped out. Another thing that really jumped out to both Matt and myself was Emory Williams, man. I mean, people get mad at me. They want to hate on Emory. And I don't know what's going to happen if and when he gets into games this year. But I could tell you, this is a different Emory out there this fall. And every play is not perfect, not even close. There's plenty of times where he has throws that he'd like to have back, interceptions that he'd like to have back. But, he's more athletic than he's ever been. When he has to scramble, he's way faster than he's ever been. He's throwing the deep ball particularly well. I can't remember a practice where we didn't see him complete a long touchdown pass out there with just a perfectly thrown long ball. He's throwing the deep ball very, very well, maybe better than even Carson Beck. And just seems like he's got more of a purpose this year and is trying really, really hard to repair the ills of a year ago when obviously, he got in for the bowl game and didn't do so well. Matt, talk a little bit about Emory Williams and what you're seeing.
I mean, it's just, he has really good moments and he still has to prove it in a game. Fans are not going to want to hear anything about Emory Williams until he does something in a game. He's always practiced pretty well. He's certainly put in the work this offseason. But there's a big drop off between him and Carson Beck. Carson Beck is a first round NFL talent and Emory Williams right now is undraftable. So, to talk about him like in the same breath doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't know, the odds keep moving. So Notre Dame now is 9th to win the national championship. Miami's 10th and Florida's 11th. So, those first 4 games, and this is why Emory doesn't really matter, right? Because it's going to be Carson Beck's team. Those first 4 games are going to pretty much determine a lot for where this Miami program is. And so I think there's a lot of, I don't know what the word would be. This is not a relaxed football team. This is a team, you could say it has a purpose. It's not a nervous team, but it's a focused team. And it's really interesting. Like it seems like some camps, like last year's camp also was pretty intense because I think the opener was against Florida. But sometimes when the first opening game is against sort of a nobody or whatever, I think that the players maybe have a tendency to not have that sort of immediate chip on their shoulder, the immediate, we got to do this now or else. So I sort of like having a game like Notre Dame in the first game, which on paper now is the toughest, and has been the toughest game on Miami's entire schedule, because everyone has to be pulling in the same direction. But whereas you need championship level depth at a lot of positions, quarterback's not one of them unless Carson Beck gets hurt. And if Carson Beck gets hurt, honestly, like the season's just off the rails at that point because there are so many questions on offense right now that need to be answered depth wise. We know the offensive line in the running game is going to be fine. But beyond that, the receivers have to prove themselves, right? None of them coming back had more than 90 yards or whatever it was last year. The 3 transfers coming in did not do well last year statistically. Elijah Arroyo's gone, so Elijah Lofton's the next guy up. I think he's going to be great, but he had 150 yards receiving. And then behind him, the Tulane guy is a nice red zone target, good blocker. And then you got 2 freshmen. And they like to play 4 tight ends in games. They had 4 tight ends that played 150 or more reps last year. That's Shannon Dawson's offense relies heavily on tight ends. So they got 2 freshman tight ends who are probably going to have to play quite a bit. So there's a lot of question marks on offense, depth-wise, other than offensive line and running back. And then on defense, you have so many new starters everywhere. You've got 2 new defensive tackle starters, 1 new linebacker starter, and then 4 new DBs. So, when you got 7 new starters on defense, like you think it's going to be great, but you have to wait and sort of see how it all comes together. And when you have such a tough first game, it better come together quick. New defensive coordinator, all new defensive staff against one of the top running games in the country and arguably the top running back in the country. I mean, that's not an easy task. So, we can sit here and talk all we want about Emory Williams, and how maybe in 2026 he'll actually emerge and be the guy. I personally think they'll go back in the portal, is my personal opinion. And try to get another first round, second round, whatever type guy. But like, as we're looking at this season, Carson, all eyes are on Carson Beck. And like you said, he's looked really good, but he has had some passes. You can tell he's sort of not in peak form, right? Some of his passes sail a little bit. He went off one rep, yesterday shaking his head like this because he had thrown a couple of bad passes, which for most quarterbacks would have been fine, but for him, they weren't. One was a wobbler that actually was caught, and then one was just off the target out of the 4 or 5 throws he made. But that's the Carson Beck standard. We've seen quarterbacks here throw 4 bad balls, just walk back to the huddle like it was normal. So for Carson to throw a couple of bad balls and be upset about it, like that's probably a good thing, right? But he needs to find his personal consistency, right? Because he's missed so much time. People don't realize you're out for 4 months and then you're rehabbing for another, month or month and a half. Like it takes a while to get your everything back, your full strength back, your timing back, your feeling back. You feel it, right? People think I've never played football before. I played football, just not at a very high level. I was a baseball player, okay? But I know how it feels. Like, for instance, every baseball season, I played up into college. Every baseball season, I was in New York, so you'd have to spend 4 months not doing anything because it was freaking cold out, and you're not going to throw a baseball in the winter. And I was a pitcher and an outfielder. So right when you get back and you start throwing, it takes a while as a pitcher. It takes a long time to really hit your spots and get the curveball with the correct spin and everything. It's just not easy. And you can tell Carson's still sort of working through a couple of those small kinks that it's just normal, but you have to really rush to get to game 1 now because he's got to be 150% Carson Beck for game 1. because you can't start the season off with a loss to Notre Dame. Like that's just not the way to start the season off with all the work they put in this offseason.
All right, the ton of coverage on the website this morning. We had the chance to talk to Mario Cristobal yesterday, and I don't think Mario talks to the media enough, to be honest with you. I think he's so good with the media. When he does come to the media, and he represents the program so well and explains things so well. I wish he would increase his number of media sessions over the course of the week, but he seems very happy, Matt. There's a lot of pressure on Mario right now, and playing Notre Dame, first game of the year, it's his fourth season. People are looking for Miami to win something now, and it starts August 31st, and no, that game is not the whole season. Yes, Miami could lose that game and still go on to a great year and accomplish all its goals, but all eyeballs all over the country are going to be on that game that night. I mean, it's one of the best games of opening weekend of college football, and it's a big night for Mario, no matter how you slice it and dice it. And but he doesn't seem. I'm sure inside he's extremely uptight and churning, but outwardly he doesn't seem that uptight, Matt. And that means that his team is not seeing an uptight Mario Cristobal, which is always a positive.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been sort of the same guy. He's pretty intense. I don't know where you get this whole relaxed persona from. He's never relaxed. I mean, he's intense, he's intentional, he's deliberate with everything he does. And that's good because that makes his team that way. He's just a fight. He's always a fired up guy. And yeah, I wish he talked to us every day. He's always, I mean, not that he ever says anything that is breaking news, but it's always nice to talk to him. I mean, they don't want us, like, we have a roster with heights and weights. We can't share it with you. We know about injuries. We can't share it with you. And he doesn't want to share it either. But this is sort of the new normal. Back in the day, reporters would write it, and it would be, they'd get the scoop, right? And now it's really interesting, actually, and we don't really talk about this, but I think fans actually don't want to know either. They want to know. No, you'd be surprised if somebody broke protocol and wrote, here's 5 injured guys that are probably going to miss the opener, right? I think fans would be mad. I think Miami fans would ostracize that reporter and say, "How could you? You're screwing up Miami. Now the other team knows who's hurt." I think fans don't want to know the information.
You're saying they'd rather it come from another fan.
Yeah, right. They'd rather have it in code words or have a friend tell them. But if somebody's put on Twitter tomorrow, some national reporter, local reporter, whatever, hey, I got a source from inside Miami. Here's who's going to miss the opener. I think Miami fans would be outraged and would be mad at the reporter for doing their job. And look, we want to do our job, but we also want to do what's right by the program, by Miami fans. Like, we are a Miami fan site, even though we're reporters. So it's a fine line. It's a really interesting thing, because back in the day, we would battle other reporters to report, the news we got. Hey, this guy's injured and he's going to miss this much time, right? That would be our scoop. And we write a story about it, right? When we find out nobody else had it. And now we find it out and we don't report it intentionally. It's like, it's so weird the way the world's changed and the way social media has turned things.
Somebody else might not abide by that, though.
Well, and yeah, I mean, that's true. But then, like I said, I don't think, nobody has broken the rule. And I think if somebody did, they probably would, have some repercussions. I don't know what they'd be. Maybe they'd be blocked in a cellar in the indoor practice facility for an indeterminate amount of time. I have no idea. I don't want to find out.
Yeah, so make sure you check that story out if you haven't. And then we got to talk to a few of the DBs. We spoke to Keontae Scott. We spoke to Jacoby Thomas, and it's really interesting to get their takes on what their group is doing, because, like we said, from our observation, they've been doing extremely well. So, make sure you check out those stories on the website as well. We also have a few recruiting stories, a story with top 15 Miami commit Kenton Dobson talking about how he's pondering fall visits as he awaits reclassification. Check that one out. And we also have a story with 2026 Texas A&M linebacker commit to Marion Watkins, who Miami is still very much after. He's planning a visit to Miami this fall. Get the whole scoop on that in that story that's on the website this morning. But that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you guys so much for starting out your day with us. Practice continues today, so make sure that you check out the website later. We will have some stuff for you coming off the practice field. The Canes will scrimmage this weekend, and we'll be mining for little nuggets that we can bring you from that session out there on Green Tree as well. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. We will see you next time.